You probably don't realize it, but right now, there is this sprawling, completely invisible architectural world hiding right in your backyard.
Yeah, most of the time you might just walk out onto your patio or, water the garden and completely miss these complex structures being engineered just inches out of sight.
Right, until you accidentally get too close. Because, well, the architects of this hidden world usually just cause sheer unadulterated panic. We are, of course, talking about wasps.
Oh, yeah, the ultimate backyard boogeyman. And for good reason. I mean, considering the pain they can inflict.
Exactly. And that panic is exactly why we are doing this deep dive today. We've got our hands on a remarkably comprehensive California species guide from Simple Pest Management put together by Ian Shee.
It's a fantastic resource.
It really is. So our mission today is to decode these flying insects buzzing around your eaves and your lawns. We're going to transform you from a homeowner who basically runs inside at the first sight of a yellow stripe into an informed observer.
Right.
Someone who knows exactly when to panic and when to just let nature do its thing.
Because knowledge really is the ultimate antidote to fear, especially when dealing with stinging insects. When you actually understand the biological mechanisms driving these creatures, like why they build what they build and what triggers their defensive instincts, that blind fear is replaced by a manageable respect.
Okay, let's unpack this. Before we can understand the wild structures these insects build, we really have to meet the architects.
Yeah, the cast of characters.
Exactly, the cast of characters buzzing around California. We've got friends, foes, and some outright fakers. I want to start with the ones that are supposedly the helpful neighbors, so the paper wasps. But honestly, whenever I see a wasp, my brain just screams threat. How are you actually supposed to tell a paper wasp apart from the others in the heat of the moment?
Well, it's all about the landing gear.
The landing gear.
Yeah, so paper wasps have a very slender profile, usually brown or reddish brown with some yellow markings, but their absolute dead giveaway is how they fly. They let their long legs just dangle underneath them in flight.
Oh, like they're dragging them?
Exactly. If you see those dangling legs, you can literally take a breath because paper wasps are highly beneficial insects.
Wait, if paper wasps are essentially the neighborhood watch of the garden, why do pest control companies even bother spraying them? Shouldn't we be protecting them like bees?
So this raises an important question about the intersection of human habitats and ecosystems. Ecologically, yes, they are fantastic. They act as natural pest controllers, actively hunting caterpillars, beetle larvae, and other pests that destroy gardens.
Right, free gardening help.
Exactly. But the conflict arises because of proximity. A paper wasp colony is relatively docile and generally only stings if the nest is physically disturbed.
I feel a butt coming.
But if they build that nest right inside the frame of your front door, the vibration of you simply coming home from work is interpreted by the wasps as a direct physical assault on their home.
Oh, wow. So just shutting the door is an attack to them.
Yeah, it becomes a major safety and liability issue at that point.
So they are fine until they decide your front porch is their new hunting lodge. That makes sense. But then we have the neighborhood bullies. The yellowjackets, the ones that crash the summer barbecue and just seem to go out of their way to ruin your day. They definitely don't have those dangling legs, do they?
No, they definitely don't. Yellow jackets are much more compact, very smooth, with stark, bright yellow and black banding. Their flight pattern is this rapid, aggressive, side-to-side motion. And, well, their aggression level is entirely different from a paper wasp.
I read that they will actually chase you. And unlike a honeybee that stings once and dies, a yellowjacket can sting you repeatedly. What makes them so relentlessly hostile?
It comes down to their social structure and, honestly, a highly potent chemical weapon.
A chemical weapon?
Yeah. Yellowjackets are the most aggressive common wasp species in California because their colonies are massive industrial operations. I mean, a paper wasp nest might have a few dozen workers. A yellowjacket colony can contain thousands.
Thousands in one nest.
Thousands. And with that immense population comes a massive demand for resources and a hyper-developed defensive perimeter.
So they literally have an army.
An army equipped with alarm pheromones. When a yellowjacket stings you, it doesn't just inject venom, it actually tags you with a chemical marker.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that invisible pheromone signals every other yellowjacket in the vicinity that you are a high-value threat. That is the biological mechanism behind why they chase you.
That is genuinely terrifying.
They're literally following a chemical homing beacon that their sister just painted on your skin.
A literal target on your back. Good to know. Which brings us to a bug that sounds even worse, but is apparently a complete faker. The bald-faced hornet. I was blown away to learn these aren't actually hornets at all.
Yeah, it's a brilliant piece of taxonomic trivia. They are actually a type of yellowjacket.
But they look completely different. I mean, they are huge, almost 3/4 of an inch long, and they have these dark black bodies with stark white or ivory markings on their faces. Why on earth are they classified as yellowjackets if they aren't even yellow?
Well, the classification comes down to their evolutionary biology and behavior, rather than their paint job. Tree hornets, which are scientifically classified in the genus Vespa, have entirely different head structures and internal anatomy.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, bald-faced hornets fall into the same genus as aerial yellowjackets because they share the exact same eusocial behavior, meaning they have queens and specialized workers, and they build the same style of enclosed paper nests.
But you still need to avoid them, right?
Oh, absolutely. You are right to be wary of them. They are incredibly territorial. If you even step within several feet of their nesting zone, they will swarm.
Yikes.
They're particularly common in places like Sacramento and Placer counties, where urban environments bleed into large, undisturbed natural habitats.
All right, so from the fakers to, well, what I can only describe as the goth exterminators, the mud daubers. They look like an alien spaceship designer tried to invent a bug.
They really are visually striking, extremely elongated bodies, and their waists are so thin they look mechanically impossible.
Yeah, like they should just snap in half in a stiff breeze.
Exactly. Usually they're metallic blue, solid black, or black and yellow.
And they were essentially highly specialized solitary assassins, right? Because they actively hunt spiders,
Yeah.
including black widows. But how do they actually pull that off? I mean, a black widow is a really dangerous opponent.
What's fascinating here is their venom. A mud dauber doesn't hunt a spider to eat it right then and there. It hunts to provide food for its offspring.
Okay.
When a mud dauber stings a black widow, the venom doesn't actually kill the spider. It's a highly specialized neurotoxin that completely paralyzes the spider while leaving its autonomic functions running.
No way.
Yeah, it basically zombifies the spider. The mud dauber then carries this living, paralyzed spider back to its nest, lays a single egg on it, and just seals it in.
Wait, so the larva hatches and eats the spider alive so the meat doesn't spoil? That is incredibly dark.
It is brutal, yeah, but incredibly efficient biology. And ironically, because they are solitary and don't have thousands of sisters or a queen to protect, they are completely docile towards humans.
Really?
Unless you physically squeeze one in your hand, a mud dauber has zero interest in stinging you. They are highly beneficial.
So if a yellow jacket colony can hit thousands of workers, where are they all living? Because they can't possibly fit on those little upside-down paper umbrellas I see tucked under my porch eaves.
That brings us to the architecture. A wasp's nest is a direct physical reflection of its social structure and, frankly, its danger level.
Let's start with those umbrellas, the paper wasp nests. You can literally see the hexagonal cells and the wasps just hanging out on them, feeding the larvae. But the material itself is what gets me. They are chewing up wood and spitting it out to make paper. How does that not just dissolve in the first rainstorm?
It's a total marvel of biochemistry. They don't just wet the wood. They scrape wood fibers from old fences or dead trees and mix it with highly specialized proteins in their saliva.
Oh, so it's not just spit and wood.
Right. Those proteins act as a water-resistant biological glue. They create a durable, weatherproof paper comb that can support the weight of the developing larvae. But, as you noted, these are small, like maybe the size of a golf ball up to a fist, hosting maybe 20 to 75 wasps.
Contrast that open umbrella with the yellow jacket nests. These are the hidden fortresses. You don't see the individual cells at all. The entire structure is wrapped in this thick, gray, papery envelope. And they use two completely different strategies for these fortresses, the first of which is pure nightmare fuel ground nests.
What's fascinating here is how dangerous these two nesting strategies are. Yes, many yellowjacket species actively seek out subterranean voids.
Like what, old rabbit holes?
Abandoned rodent burrows or hollow spaces under landscape timbers. They move in and begin excavating, actually carrying dirt out grain by grain to expand the cavity as the colony grows.
And this is why pushing a lawnmower in late summer is suddenly an extreme sport. The vibrations. You push a loud vibrating machine over a hidden colony, and because it's underground, you have zero visual warning.
Exactly. The vibration of the mower blade essentially rings the dinner bell for their defensive instincts. Thousands of workers pour out of a hole you couldn't even see in the grass, immediately deploying those alarm pheromones we talked about.
Ugh.
Horrifying. It really is one of the most common ways people sustain mass stinging events.
And their second strategy is aerial nests. These are those massive gray footballs high up in trees or attached to the sides of buildings, which naturally leads us to the bald-faced hornets because they build the mansions of the wasp world. I mean, they start small in the spring, but they can grow to be 2 feet across by the fall.
Yeah, and a 2-foot wide nest isn't just about space, it's about thermal regulation. That massive multi-layered paper envelope traps insulating air. It allows the colony to maintain a stable internal temperature for the larvae, regardless of the wildly fluctuating California weather outside.
Then, on the complete opposite end of the architectural spectrum, you have the mud daubers, the custom clay studios. No paper, no chewed wood, just pure mud. And there are 3 distinct styles, right? The pipe organ mud daubers, which literally build parallel tubes that look like organ pipes. The black and yellow daubers, who build these clumpy, round blobs. And then the blue mud daubers, who I like to call the house flippers of the insect world.
I love that term because they don't even bother building their own nests.
So wait, instead of thousands of wasps in one nest, it's just one single wasp and a paralyzed spider packed into a mud tube. That's so different from the others.
Exactly. The blue mud daubers simply locate an abandoned mud nest, bring in some water to soften the old clay, refurbish the interior, and pack it with their own paralyzed spiders.
It's brilliant. So understanding the bugs in their buildings naturally leads us to the environment. Why is my yard suddenly wasp central? What are the environmental triggers?
Well, wasps don't just materialize out of thin air, they follow the resources. The 2 massive magnets in any residential yard are water and food.
Water is a big one. Swimming pools, decorative fountains, even just the puddles left by your lawn sprinklers. Why are they so obsessed with water?
They need it for 2 critical functions. First, for hydration, obviously, just like any living thing. But second, they need water to manufacture their nests.
Oh, right, for the saliva glue in the mud.
Exactly. Paper wasps and yellowjackets need moisture to mix with wood pulp, and mud daubers literally need water to mix their clay. If you have a water source, you are basically the local hardware store for every wasp in the neighborhood.
And then there is the food. Fruit trees, blooming gardens, and especially hummingbird feeders. But California's geography plays a huge role in how bad the wasp problem gets, right?
Absolutely. Climate dictates the life cycle. In warmer regions like San Diego and Riverside counties, the permissive temperatures mean the colonies don't die off at the first frost.
So they just keep growing.
Yeah, the queens can keep laying eggs much later into the year. A longer active season translates directly into exponentially larger, more dangerous nests.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The timeline of terror. The late summer and early fall. Why does a nest that seemed perfectly peaceful in May suddenly turn into an active war zone in September?
It is a massive biological shift in the colony's priorities.
The way I've come to understand it, late summer yellowjackets are like hangry tourists at the end of a long vacation. It's like a massive factory where the supply chain just suddenly collapsed. The production line is shut down, but thousands of workers are still locked inside the building, absolutely demanding a paycheck.
That is an incredibly accurate way to visualize it. So, in the spring and early summer, the adult workers are hunting protein insects, caterpillars, to feed the developing larvae.
Right.
In return, the larvae secrete a sugary substance that feeds the adults. It's a perfect feedback loop.
But in the fall?
In the fall, the queen stops laying eggs. The larvae mature, so that internal sugar supply completely dries up.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, you have thousands of adult wasps who are essentially addicted to sugar, starving, with no larvae to feed them. At the exact same time, natural food sources in the environment are dying off, so they pivot from hunting protein to aggressively scavenging for carbohydrates.
Which is why they are suddenly swarming your soda can at the Labor Day barbecue. They are starving, desperate sugar addicts.
Exactly. They're frantically foraging to keep themselves alive, and their defensive perimeter expands because they are just on edge. That is when stings are most common.
So you know what bug you're dealing with, you've found the nest, and you understand the seasonal risks. What is your actual game plan? Do you observe, leave it alone, or destroy it?
Well, the default answer shouldn't automatically be a can of chemical spray. Coexistence is incredibly viable if you understand the risks.
Although when do we leave them be?
If the nest isn't threatening human safety, let it operate. Mud daubers are docile, free spider control. Leave them alone.
Makes sense.
If you have a small paper wasp umbrella tucked away on a remote fence line far from foot traffic, let them hunt your garden pests. And if you discover a nest in late November, the incoming cold weather is going to naturally eliminate the colony anyway. If we connect this to the bigger picture, even beneficial insects are part of the ecosystem, but they cross the line when they threaten human safety.
Right. But there are clear red flags for when removal is non-negotiable. Location is huge. If a nest is in a high-traffic area, like near doorways, play structures, pools, or outdoor dining spaces, it has to go.
Absolutely.
And allergy risks. If anyone in your home has a known wasp allergy, you cannot roll the dice with coexistence. Also, basically any yellowjacket or bald-faced hornet nest, ground nest near lawns, or any nest inside a home structure.
And species identification plays a huge role here. If you identify a yellowjacket or bald-faced hornet nest, professional removal is almost always the right call because of their aggressive nature and massive numbers.
The guide lays out some very strict rules of engagement if you are just safely observing or trying to figure out what kind of nest you have. Maintain a 10-foot distance. Wear light colors because wasps are actually drawn to dark colors, viewing them as potential predators like bears or skunks.
Right.
And if they challenge you, walk away slowly. Do not swat. Swatting just triggers the release of those alarm pheromones. But there are two crucial, absolute warnings about what you should never do. The first, never use a flashlight to look at a nest at night. I always thought wasps slept at night, so that would be the safest time to check them out.
It is the absolute worst time to shine a light on them. Wasps exhibit positive phototaxis.
Meaning what?
When they are disturbed in the dark, they will immediately fly toward the brightest light source in order to orient themselves.
And if you're holding the flashlight, that bright light source is right next to your face.
Precisely. You will pull an entire defensive swarm directly to your head.
Yeah, let's not do that. The second crucial warning, never seal a nest entrance while the wasps are inside. If they're flying into a crack in your siding, the impulse is just to grab some caulk and trap them inside. Out of sight, out of mind.
And this is how exterior nuisances become indoor catastrophes. Wasps have incredibly strong mandibles designed for chewing wood.
Right, they make paper out of it.
Exactly. If you seal their main exit, they will follow air currents and temperature gradients to find a way out. Usually, the warmest airflow is coming from the interior of your house. They will effortlessly chew right through your interior drywall.
Imagine sitting on your couch and watching hundreds of starving yellowjackets chew a hole through your living room wall. It is the literal stuff of horror movies.
Right.
And it is exactly why DIY pest control for these large aggressive nests is such a bad idea. You really need the pros.
You do. It's not just that they have stronger professional-grade products. Pest control professionals have actual protective gear that prevents mass stinging.
That's a good point.
They understand the airflow of a wall void so they don't accidentally drive the wasps into your house. And they have the emergency training to safely manage a ground nest without triggering a massive neighborhood swarm. When you are dealing with thousands of aggressive, venomous insects, relying on a hardware store aerosol can is a massive, unnecessary risk.
So what does this all mean? It means that a little bit of biological insight completely transforms your backyard. It takes it from feeling like a terrifying, unpredictable minefield into a manageable environment. You now know to look for the dangling legs of the helpful paper wasp, the rapid side-to-side flight of the yellowjacket, and the creepy but incredible profile of the mud dauber.
And this raises one final provocative thought to consider for everyone listening. We've talked a lot about their architecture and aggression today, but the cognitive ability of wasps is just starting to be understood.
Oh, really?
Yeah, recent entomological studies have revealed that certain species of wasps actually possess facial recognition capabilities.
Wait, like human facial recognition? Are you serious?
I am. They can recognize the individual faces of their fellow colony members to establish social hierarchies, and evidence suggests they can visually pattern match the faces of predators, including humans who repeatedly disrupt their nests. So, the next time you are out in your yard staring down a solitary mud dauber or a small paper wasp nest tucked away in a quiet corner, observing its complex pest control economy, just remember, it might actually be memorizing exactly who you are.
Well, that is both completely amazing and highly unsettling. But at least now we hold the blueprints to their world. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please take a second to follow and like the show. It really helps us out. And to make sure your own home's architecture stays safe, secure, and pest-free, be sure to follow Simple Pest Management on social media and visit them at www.simplepest.com. Keep an eye on the E's, watch where you mow, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.